It's Fill Your Plate Now, where every bite brings you closer to the farm gate and further from what's unhealthy. Now here's your hosts, Julie and Tammy, helping you live well by filling your plate well.
So, Julie, we hear a lot about water
Yes.
constantly because, of course, being in the desert and living in Arizona, we are very concerned about having enough water. And you and Arizona Farm Bureau just completed a documentary called Growing Home Arizona
Yes.
on that water story. And I was looking at it the other day. It's a great documentary and really curious, too, on how you came about using families to tell the story because it makes it much more personal.
It does. So, the evolution of the whole movie has been quite exciting, and it's been a year-long process, at least. John Boltz, our Arizona Farm Bureau president, inspired it, and he just felt it was important, since water is a priority issue for the Arizona Farm Bureau, that we need to tell more of the water story here in Arizona, but as it relates to agriculture. So that was kind of the inspiration. And then in the meantime, we had an advisory committee that gave us counsel on how we should approach this. And so that whole it just kind of came out in the evolution of all these discussions and learning about water that, we need to let the farm families tell the water story. And that's how we came to the movie's concept and the plot. 2 farm families and 1 urban family, actually. So there's 3 families profiled in this movie. But the Growing Home Arizona, that was an evolution too. We'd gone through more than 1 title. And the production company, the production team that produced this, they came to me and they said, Julie, we're going home to these families. And it's about agriculture. So we think it should be Growing Home Arizona. And my boss, Phil Bashaw, loved that. So that became our movie title.
That's a great title and very descriptive of what the movie is about.
Right.
Because you use 3 families to tell the story, and they're in different parts of Arizona and different parts of agriculture. And actually, the 3rd family that you worked with is not in agriculture at all.
Right.
But it's showing 3 different relationships with water and the importance of water. Talk a little bit more about that.
So we have the Bales farm family from Buckeye, Arizona. And then we have the Kaywood family from Casa Grande, or in the Pinal County area, their farm family story. Both of them are crop farmers. We felt like that was, in this movie, it was important for us to emphasize the farming aspect of. And then Brian Lopez from the Metro Phoenix area, he has his own HVAC business. And the reason we wanted to draw from the non-ag perspective is we recognize, we respect, and we appreciate our farm or our regular Arizona families from across the state and their take on the water issue. And we just felt that that was important because one of the things that came out as well is there's a lot of shared values. Whether I, Julie Murphy from a farm family in Maricopa, Arizona, and my take and understanding of water and improved technologies for reducing water use on farming. Tammy Baker from Cave Creek, right? And you've been around farming all your life too, because you've been taking care of our dairy farm families here in the state of Arizona. But your perspective, you're going to have some of the same value propositions about water, that whole conservation of water, that, appreciation of this resource, that it's life-giving. So we knew that these different families would represent shared values of the importance of Arizona water.
Yeah, in the movie, you say water is the lifeblood of the desert. Mm-hmm. And that is so true because living in a state where we have so much sunshine, it's ideal to grow things. But yet the scarcity of water affects our farmers, affects our dairy farmers, affects our cattle ranchers. I mean, humanizing it and bringing it to a level that our average consumer can grasp and understand is so important. Talk a little bit more about
So our
that.
advisory committee actually told us, don't throw a lot of hard facts at the public in this movie. We have statistics, we have facts, we can show dramatic conservation, we can show dramatic water use reduction in agriculture. But what they wanted to do again was emphasize those shared values. So this is not a movie about statistics and water and how important agriculture is. That comes through these shared lives of two farm families and one urban family. So we pulled away from some of the traditional mini documentaries that a lot of us across agriculture, myself included, have had a tendency to default to. And we learned, and the emphasis from the committee kind of supported that we need to earn people's trust, we need to appreciate their concerns, and we need to be able to then unveil our story. And so the way we built this movie was building that story around the people that are living it day to day, like the Bales family, the Kaywood family, and the Lopez family, who has his own HVAC company.
That was a great way to really bring that messaging home, because it is important, and most of us, I believe it's less than 4%, less than 3% of the population is involved with agriculture.
Yeah.
But it humanizes it. I mean, you meet the grandparents, the parents, the kids. It's a lifestyle and a commitment to providing food for all of our families. And so delving in deeper and looking at how hard they work to do that, and the water piece of it, and how important that is, I think it really can bring the message home. And it also really projects out into what agriculture does, not only in supplying the community with food, but for the economy in general and for jobs in the ag industry. Talk a little more about that.
So there's a moment in the movie when you're talking about these families. It's Steve Bales Sr., the grandfather, and he's never actually interviewed. You just see him on and off camera. And there's a moment when they're having one of the invites into their home was them actually having dinner, and you see him pausing in front of the camera and he just waves. And I don't know what it was about that wave, but I almost cried, because it just showed his family surroundings. It showed that here's this man that's been farming for decades, trying to provide for his family, trying to make a way, and then at the same time investing in agriculture that actually benefits all of us. So there was something that was so human about his wave to the camera, and he didn't, through the whole film, he doesn't actually talk. His son, Steve Bales Jr., does most of the talking, and then also Trevor Bales, one of the children. So you're seeing four generations of Bales family within that movie. So again, that whole thing of just the essence and core of who we are as farm families, who we are as urban families, and showing those shared values. And I think it really, so far, it's been out for the last several weeks now, but so far it seems like it's resonating with people, whether they're in agriculture or whether they're just John and Jane Doe on the street. It's very exciting.
It is exciting, and I found it very touching that some of the kids that are now aspiring to, help and then eventually take over the farm, there's no hesitation there. They see that as their lifestyle too, and their commitment to, providing food for others. I think that's great. It was very touching. How is the movie doing then overall?
It's doing really good on YouTube. So we've garnered, the last time I checked, and that's still growing because we're promoting it on social media, but the last time I checked, it was 1,100 views. And that's the long form version of the mini documentary. It's 24 minutes. So that's why a documentary averages, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. This mini documentary is 24 minutes. We also have a shorter version of it, which is 7 minutes. And even at the short version, in fact, I was thinking more people would watch the short version because we've made it available in all our channels, both long and short views. That's at about 400 views, again, the last time I checked. And then we have a few of the municipalities that have their own TV station say that they're going to air it. And one in particular, the city of Mesa, is committed to airing it weekly through the end of the year. Obviously, they're looking for quality, rich content, and this mini documentary, I guess, meets that requirement. So for them to air that to residents of the city of Mesa here in the state of Arizona is pretty exciting for us at the Arizona Farm Bureau. And we're doing a lot of outreach. We've announced it, obviously, to the media, and we've gotten a lot of feedback. We've done a little mini survey, and it was very positive with results. And the message that, for those viewers that have watched it, the most resonating message for most of them was, gosh, it makes me feel like we have shared values. And another kind of comment on it was how inspiring it was to see what these farm families are doing in protecting our water, in conserving, in reducing water use, and then ultimately contributing to that food supply chain. Even if all you grow is alfalfa, cotton, and wheat, you think, well, that's a little bit separated from what I get on the grocery store. Well, if it's alfalfa, we're feeding our dairy. You can totally identify with that. And then also our beef. So alfalfa, while it's a low-value crop in the world of the different crops, it's very key and very important to the food supply chain. And by the way, you'd be proud of us, Tammy. We did reference dairy. We show some of the United Dairymen of Arizona trucks, I believe it was. So anyway, there's a little component of dairy because we were truly trying to show that whole food supply chain and why water in agriculture is so important.
I think all across that farming sector, all forms of agriculture, dairy, and as well as ranching, cattle families, and other farming families, they all are doing everything they can to help conserve and maximize the use of the water that they have.
Well, in the dairy industry, I think you tell me, what is it? It can
As
be
many
up
as
to
five
to six times
Yes.
recycling that water.
Yes.
So there's a lot of reuse. And
Absolutely.
sometimes what we forget, we don't want to hit the public with a lot of statistics and facts, but it costs money to do everything we do. And the more efficient we are with the resources at hand, the more we reduce those costs, but the more we can approach it with a conservation and a value proposition that has a positive impact on all of us. So.
And then you mentioned there's a 24-minute and a 7-minute video. Is there an appropriate place for the 24-minute that's different than the 7-minute? And this is a two-part question. You mentioned the municipalities using it. What if someone, let's say a teacher, wants to show it to her classroom and talk about sustainability? And I mean, how is it made available for others to use, and is it available for everyone to download and utilize?
Absolutely, and we encourage people to use it. This has been produced by the Arizona Farm Bureau, and we're producing it for the public and for our farm families. But it's available on YouTube, on Arizona Farm Bureau's YouTube channel, both the short and the long. And your question is especially for teachers or if somebody wants to air it. That's why we created a shorter version, the 7-minute version. That's probably the one I'd use for the classroom, unless it's Movie Friday. I think we had that when I was a kid in school. Sometimes
it's raining out, which never happens here. But anyway.
Yeah, every once in a while.
It
wasn't very common, but every once in a while we'd actually get to watch what the teacher would classify as kind of an educational movie, and it was a full 90-minute movie. So, but most of the time, I would say for the classroom, the short 7-minute video on YouTube would be perfect, and also the long version, if we have premieres, if there's going to be some evening showing of something special, we will probably show the movie at the annual meeting in November. That's Arizona Farm Bureau's annual meeting. We'll certainly show the short version. And then we also have a web page on Arizona Farm Bureau's website, which is azfb.org, that's dedicated solely to the movie. So you can view it there in its long form or short form. You can also, we set up a lot of informational boxes about irrigation technology. We even have a box about cool temperatures irrigation. Well, it has nothing to do with the movie, but if somebody is more curious about our dedication to doing the right thing when it comes to using the water resource right, we're highlighting some of the things that we do in agriculture to make it work and to make it make sense. Because again, ultimately, that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast. This farm and ranch gate to plate focus is all about what gives us life, what gives us health, what's important to our day-to-day, and that is what drives us, inspires us, and motivates us at Arizona Farm Bureau.
And I thought it was really fascinating that you used the Lopez family in there that is not a farm family. So a non-farm family question for you. Okay. Talk a little bit about the water stewardship involved in other areas, other businesses like the Lopez family and the comparison there.
So the value proposition to bring him on, and he was so willing to participate, we reached out to a network actually in our membership of non-agriculture members. We have 30,000 members in Arizona Farm Bureau. The majority of those, about 26,000 of them, are non-ag members. So we have a lot of people that support Arizona Farm Bureau. Well, Brian is on his HOA board, and they have discussed water issues and conservation and, what's it going to be like for the city of Phoenix. So he resonated with this whole idea of us having a non-farm family talk about some of the same things that our farm families talk about: conservation, clean water, available water. What is this resource and why is it important for us in the future? So he was bullish, to say, on fully participating. A really great guy, fun to talk to, very enthusiastic, a small business owner, and dedicated to his family and his community. So he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect fit. Yes. To show the two farm families and then to show him and his family and the contrast, but yet the similarity and understanding that whole water stewardship piece.
And, we were showing the generational thing there, too, because his daughter couldn't be in the movie, so he just showed a picture of her on the refrigerator. And while we didn't end up interviewing his son, just that natural interaction between his family, it just, again, warmed my heart. I'm a very sentimental soul, so seeing these families just live life and then we hired an outside production team, getting to come into their homes, and that's why this growing home Arizona is such an inspiration. Every time I watch it, and I've watched it more than once, and believe me, I feel like I've watched it too much in the editing process, it still inspires. It still really inspires.
Well, and you really end on the note of not only growing home, but then growing the communities, growing the food, the full circle of what occurs that consumers get to be the end recipients of, and the communities get to be the end recipients of. What would you like to see the viewers that have seen this walk away with? What's their call to action?
Call to action to me is to cheer on the agriculture community as we daily cheer on you by what we produce. Another call to action might be recognizing that families, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their profession, we do have shared values, and we have so many commonalities that we might as well be in this together than separate. And I think that is one of the most inspiring aspects of the movie.
I think bringing everyone together is so important, and it's a great documentary.
Thank
and
you.
Thanks for sharing the background on it with us. And again, it's Growing Home, Arizona.
Thank you, Tammy.